I got saved when I was about 17, 18 years old, and I felt like right away God called me to ministry. I'd gone to college and got a degree in Bible and theology, and I really just didn't have any idea kind of what I wanted to do with it. So I graduated from college, spent probably 3-4 years just trying to figure out kind of what God wanted me to do. And then I finally landed a job with Fairfield County Juvenile Court. It was nights, it was weekends. It made me depressed, honestly. That season of being miserable really is what made me make the decision for me to pursue ministry. I didn't know what I wanted to do ministry-wise, but I'd worked with Pastor Matthew in the youth. I'd volunteered in the youth ministry for a couple years. And so I had a relationship with Pastor Matthew and just approached him and said, can I do an internship? I went to school for ministry. He said, yeah, we'd love to have you come in and intern. Cassie and I realized that we were going to have to make some changes. I was excited about the internship. We just didn't know what it was going to mean for the entirety of our lives, not just what I was doing here, but for what it meant for me as a dad, what it meant for her as an employee, and what it meant for her as a mom.
It was a huge just step of faith, but we really felt called for Chris to take a step towards ministry. The only way that would work is that he could only be here a couple days a week. And I worked 10-hour shifts so that I could be home those other days. So it was a difficult season. It was difficult to get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock every morning while Chris and the kids were still sleeping, and know I had 10 hours.
I started to get calls from my previous employer and offering me jobs, and I just wasn't quite sure what I was doing. Wasn't sure where I fit with ministry, and I know that Cassie was getting ready to be. She was getting tired of working full time, wanted to be back home with the kids. Got another job offer from my previous employer. I was really considering, does God want me to go back to this? Did I mishear this? It's at that point Matthew asked us one more time. He said, just hang on and let's see what we can do. And so we waited again. We just kind of waited, and it was almost exactly at the 1 year mark. They offered me a full-time job as a director.
And I think every time that Chris got offered a job back at the courthouse, it was tempting. I mean, we knew what we were doing was what God had called us to do, even though it was tough for me to be working. And I didn't hate my job, but I was jealous that Chris got to be home with the kids.
I was jealous that she was at work all day.
So it was difficult, but it seemed like every time they offered him a job, it's like we just had to renew our commitment to following and sacrificing for this time period what God wanted us to do. And then Pastor Matt offered Chris the job. It was like just a huge blessing. It was like this whole long time of waiting and renewing our commitment to be sacrificial. It was totally worth it. I mean, it was almost surreal to be able to go into work and say, I'm done. I'm going to stay at home with my kids, and that's what I wanted to do, so he totally blessed us through that.
And I think sacrifice when you live it out in real everyday life, there are payoffs and benefits to it. There are good things about it, but there's also the nitty-gritty of it. There's the hard parts. There's the waiting. There's always the internal stuff that makes it hard at times to do those things.
But that's what I feel like that's what sacrifice is. For some people, it is just making the decision to sacrifice, and there's no joy, there's no excitement with it at all. And we've experienced that too in different things in our life. But this was one of those things, like, it was exciting to think about what the possibilities could be. So it was that initial excitement. We're going to sacrifice. This is great. This will be awesome. And then didn't take long before, this is not awesome. This is sacrifice. This is what God has called us to. We don't even know where it's going to end up. We didn't know if Chris was going to intern for years. We just trusted that God would come through, and he did.